Google moved out of China in March 2010 following years of tension over the Chinese government's strict censorship laws. The tipping point came after Google discovered that it had been the target of a sophisticated cyber attack, which it traced back to China. This attack, known as Operation Aurora, was an attempt to access the Gmail accounts of Chinese human rights activists. In response, Google announced that it would no longer comply with China's censorship demands and began redirecting its Chinese users to its uncensored search engine in Hong Kong, effectively ending its operations on the mainland. The decision to leave China was driven by Google's commitment to free expression and its refusal to compromise on its principles. The company had initially agreed to censor search results when it entered the Chinese market in 2006, but the increasing demands for more extensive censorship and the cyber attacks targeting its users prompted a re-evaluation of its presence in the country. By exiting China, Google aimed to reaffirm its stance against censorship and protect the privacy and rights of its users, even at the cost of losing access to a vast and lucrative market. Google's exit from China marked a significant moment in the tech industry, symbolizing the complex interplay between business, ethics, and geopolitics. The company's decision to move out of China was not sudden, but the culmination of years of mounting tensions between the tech giant and the Chinese government. Google entered the Chinese market in 2006, agreeing to censor search results as per the government's demands. However, this compromise led to internal and external criticism, raising questions about the company's commitment to its "Don't Be Evil" motto. From the outset, Google's operations in China were fraught with difficulties. The Chinese government's stringent censorship laws required Google to block access to certain websites and search results, a practice known as the Great Firewall of China. This censorship conflicted with Google's core mission to organize the world's information and make it universally accessible. The company faced backlash from human rights organizations, activists, and even some of its employees who believed that Google was compromising its principles for profit.
Despite these challenges, Google's presence in China grew, and the company gained a substantial share of the market. However, the relationship between Google and the Chinese authorities remained uneasy. Over time, the Chinese government began to demand more extensive censorship, and tensions between the two entities escalated. In 2010, Google announced that it had been the target of a sophisticated cyber attack originating from China, which sought to access the Gmail accounts of Chinese human rights activists. This attack, known as Operation Aurora, was a tipping point for Google. In response to the cyber attack, Google decided to reevaluate its operations in China. The company made a bold move by publicly announcing that it would no longer comply with China's censorship requirements. Google redirected its Chinese users to its uncensored search engine in Hong Kong, effectively ending its operations on the mainland. This decision was a significant gamble, as it risked alienating a market with over 1 billion potential users. However, it also reaffirmed Google's commitment to its principles of free expression and access to information. The move was met with mixed reactions globally. Many praised Google for taking a stand against censorship and defending human rights, while others criticized the company for abandoning a lucrative market. In China, the government responded swiftly, blocking access to Google's Hong Kong site and further tightening its control over the internet. Chinese internet users were left with few alternatives to access uncensored information, as domestic companies like Baidu, which complied with government censorship, dominated the market. Google's exit from China also had significant implications for the global tech industry. It highlighted the challenges that multinational companies face when operating in authoritarian regimes with strict censorship laws. For other tech giants like Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn, Google's experience served as a cautionary tale. These companies had to navigate the difficult balance between maintaining access to a vast market and upholding their principles regarding freedom of speech and information. The departure also marked a turning point in the relationship between the United States and China. At the time, the U.S. government expressed support for Google's decision, framing it as a stand against China's growing internet censorship and surveillance. This incident contributed to the increasing tensions between the two superpowers, particularly in the realm of technology and cybersecurity. It underscored the ideological divide between the open internet model championed by the US and the controlled, state-run model favored by China.
In the years following Google's exit, the Chinese internet landscape evolved rapidly. Domestic tech companies like Baidu, Alibaba, and Tencent grew in dominance, filling the void left by Google. These companies became central to China's digital economy, benefiting from government support and the absence of Western competitors. Meanwhile, China's internet censorship apparatus, known as the Great Firewall, became even more sophisticated, further limiting the flow of information within the country. Despite leaving the Chinese market, Google did not entirely sever its ties with China. The company continued to engage with the country in other ways, such as maintaining research partnerships and developing artificial intelligence technologies. Google also explored re-entering the market under different terms, as evidenced by the controversial Dragonfly project in 2018. Dragonfly was a censored search engine designed specifically for China, but it faced intense backlash and was ultimately shelved due to widespread criticism from human rights groups, journalists, and Google's own employees. The Dragonfly project reignited the debate over whether Google should compromise its values to access the Chinese market. Critics argued that by developing a censored search engine, Google was betraying its commitment to free expression. Proponents, however, contended that engaging with China, even under restrictive conditions, could have a positive impact by providing Chinese users with better services and potentially influencing the country's approach to the internet over time. Google's struggle to reconcile its business interests with its ethical commitments in China is reflective of a broader challenge faced by global companies. Operating in markets with repressive regimes often requires companies to make difficult choices between profit and principle. Google's decision to exit China has become a case study in corporate ethics, highlighting the dilemmas that arise when commercial interests clash with human rights concerns. The long-term impact of Google's departure from China on the company itself has been mixed. While Google has remained a leader in the global search engine market, its absence in China has allowed competitors like Baidu to solidify their dominance. Moreover, the Chinese government's support for domestic tech giants has enabled them to innovate and expand, reducing their dependence on Western technology. However, Google's exit also allowed the company to strengthen its reputation in other parts of the world, particularly in regions where freedom of speech and access to information are highly valued. By taking a stand against censorship, Google positioned itself as a champion of digital rights, which resonated with many users and policymakers outside of China. This move helped Google maintain its credibility and brand integrity in markets where ethical considerations are a significant concern. The decision to leave China also had broader implications for the tech industry's approach to global expansion. Google's experience highlighted the importance of considering local regulations, cultural norms, and ethical standards when entering new markets. It also underscored the need for companies to have clear policies and strategies for addressing human rights issues, particularly in regions with restrictive regimes. In the years since Google's exit, the global tech landscape has continued to evolve, with China emerging as a major player in the industry. Chinese tech companies have expanded their influence beyond their borders, challenging Western tech giants in areas like artificial intelligence, e-commerce, and social media. The rise of these companies has led to increased competition and has raised concerns about the implications of their global reach, particularly regarding issues of privacy, censorship, and surveillance. Google's departure from China has also been seen as a precursor to the broader tech decoupling between the US and China. As tensions between the two countries have escalated, particularly in the areas of trade and technology, there has been a growing push for decoupling their tech sectors. This decoupling has significant implications for the global tech industry, as it could lead to the creation of separate technological ecosystems, each dominated by one of the two superpowers. Looking back, Google's move out of China was a significant moment that continues to influence the company's strategy and the broader tech industry. It highlighted the complex relationship between technology, politics, and ethics, and underscored the challenges that companies face when operating in repressive regimes. Google's decision to prioritize its values over market access set a precedent that other companies have had to consider when making similar choices. In the years since Google's exit, the Chinese government has continued to tighten its control over the internet, making it increasingly difficult for foreign companies to operate in the country without compromising their principles. This has led to a growing divide between the Chinese internet and the global internet, with China developing its own ecosystem of tech companies, services, and platforms that operate independently of the rest of the world. Despite the challenges, Google's exit from China also opened up opportunities for the company to innovate and expand in other areas. Without the constraints of operating under Chinese censorship, Google has been able to focus on developing new technologies and services that align with its values. This has allowed the company to remain at the forefront of the tech industry, even as it faces increasing competition from Chinese and other global players. Google's move out of China is a reminder of the importance of corporate responsibility in the digital age. As technology companies continue to expand their global reach, they must navigate the complex intersection of business, ethics, and geopolitics. Google's experience in China serves as a case study in how companies can balance these competing demands while staying true to their core values. In conclusion, Google's exit from China was a pivotal moment in the history of the tech industry. It underscored the challenges of operating in a repressive regime, highlighted the importance of corporate ethics, and had far-reaching implications for the global tech landscape. As the industry continues to evolve, the lessons from Google's experience in China will remain relevant, offering insights into the complex dynamics of doing business in an increasingly interconnected and contentious world. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to smash that subscribe, like, and notification bell for more global finance uncovered.